crime, addiction, even the loss of his closest friends. From the streets of Antioch to the dizzying heights of fame, Jelly Roll has seen it all. Jelly Roll was born just outside of Nashville in Antioch, Tennessee. Born Jason DeFord, his mother started calling him Jelly Roll when he was a child, and he's carried that nickname with him ever since. In an interview with CBS Sunday Morning, he once joked, "To this day, my mother calls me Jelly. If somebody walked in here right now and said Jason, I wouldn't look up." Looking back at his childhood, Jelly Roll recalled his neighborhood as straddling middle and lower class status, and never really thought of his family as impoverished.
I guess we grew up poor, but I didn't feel like it because I never wanted.
That said, he certainly wasn't exposed to a whole lot of affluence while growing up. Speaking to GQ, he explained that everybody around him seemed to be involved in some sort of hustle. He added, "I don't think I knew anybody with a real job." In addition, most people he knew were doing drugs, and eventually, so was he. And as he grew older, he graduated from doing drugs to selling them. It wasn't a particularly lucrative business for Jelly Roll, but at least it afforded him a bit of money. He remembered, "It was scratching and clawing by, and sadly, scratching and clawing by was better than everybody else. I don't remember nobody with real money." Jelly Roll was just 13 when his parents divorced. Due to his mother's ongoing struggles with mental health issues and substance abuse, he felt that she was his responsibility. So he chose to stay with her rather than live with his father. Speaking to Billboard, he said, "I told my dad before he died, I wonder, if I'd have moved in with you when you divorced, if I'd have went to Vanderbilt or something. But I felt this need to take care of my mother back then." That responsibility, he felt, wasn't just emotional. It also had financial implications. Realizing he needed to bring in some extra cash to support them both, the quickest and easiest path he saw ahead of him was crime. Reflecting on how his father's exit from the family pushed him toward theft and drug dealing, Jelly Roll recalled, "I think that's what really did it too. When he left, I was like, somebody's got to do what he was doing, at least trying to figure out some money." It wasn't long after his parents' divorce that Jelly Roll's criminal activities yielded harsh consequences. He was just 13 when he was arrested for the first time. All told, he would go on to be jailed about 40 times over the next decade or so. Appearing on the Flagrant podcast, Jelly Roll recalled that first bust on drug charges, which was followed by a second arrest at 14 for robbery.
Yeah, it was a drug deal gone bad. It was a drug deal gone bad.
Wait, for the person you robbed?
For them, for sure.
Due to those arrests, Jelly Roll spent large chunks of his teenage years in Nashville's Davidson County Juvenile Detention Center. He later told People magazine, "I was in and out of there for about 3.5 years. I spent a lot of time there. That was the most impactful thing that ever happened in my life." Looking back, Jelly Roll has come to realize that the crime he engaged in as a youth was almost entirely a result of his environment at the time.
My dad used to say it this way, like, never be a snake unless you're in a snake pit. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And that's how I felt about the streets.
Like Omar.
Jelly Roll was 16 years old when he was hit with his most serious charge to date, aggravated assault. Despite his juvenile status, prosecutors determined that the circumstances of the crime were severe enough to try him as an adult, which meant a potential sentence of 20 years in prison. Speaking to Billboard, he later recalled, "They were talking about giving me more time than I'd been alive. I was charged as an adult years before I could buy a beer, lease an apartment, get a pack of cigarettes." Ultimately, Jelly Roll received a sentence of 8 years in a federal penitentiary. He was released after serving less than 2 years. His freedom, however, was short-lived. He told Billboard, "I feel like the justice system at that point kind of parked me on my only set path." Jelly Roll eventually began to hit a point where being behind bars offered more familiarity than life on the outside. Speaking to The Guardian, he explained, "Jail was like a high school reunion for me. You go in there, it's like, oh, you're still here. What's up, dude? The rotating door of the judicial system? It's rough, man." In 2008, 23-year-old Jelly Roll was back in prison, once again a convict. As he told CBS Sunday Morning, his life changed in an instant when a prison guard banged on the door of his cell. Jelly Roll recalled, he said, "DeFord, you had a kid today." I said, "What?" He said, yeah, you had a child." And I was like, "What's her name?" And he said, "Hell, I don't know." Overcome with the weight of impending fatherhood, he vowed to turn things around and end the pattern of incarceration that had come to characterize the past decade of his life. The first matter of business was getting his GED, given that he'd never graduated high school. He studied and passed on his very first try. Jelly Roll finally left prison for the final time when he was 25. Shortly after this, he met his daughter, Bailey Ann DeFord, the result of a brief relationship prior to his imprisonment, while she celebrated her second birthday.
And in the old Southern Baptist term, that was my Damascus Road experience.
As Jelly Roll had hoped, his daughter became a huge part of his life, particularly after he was awarded custody of her. Despite all the years that had passed, the importance of the moment he discovered he had a child remains undiminished. He told People magazine, "Being a father is so important to me. The single most impactful event of my entire life was having my daughter. It changed everything." For most of his youth, drugs had been a central facet of Jelly Roll's life, both doing them and selling them. Speaking to GQ, he said, "I just remember everybody doing drugs. I was in my 20s before I realized that having a drug addict in your family wasn't normal." Jelly Roll came to have a somewhat abnormal relationship with alcohol and cocaine, believing for years that it wasn't possible to partake in one without the other. In addition to the responsibility he felt to his daughter, his own desire for self-preservation also gave him the impetus he needed to quit using hard drugs. He told The Guardian, "I had to get rid of the lean, the pills, the cocaine. I didn't have a choice. It was me or them, and I had to learn to love myself." Jelly Roll's past issues with substance abuse may be in the rearview mirror, but they'll always be a part of him on some level. He told People, "I mean, it still haunts me like the ghosts I know, but I tell you what, I don't think about doing no drugs today." Growing up, Jelly Roll watched helplessly as his mother battled mental health issues.
She never left that room, man. She never left that room, and if she did, she'd come down to the kitchen. That was a big day, man.
As he later revealed, he has grappled with issues involving his own mental health. On Instagram, he once wrote, "The truth is I struggle with severe depression. I've struggled with it my whole life. I have moments of extreme productivity where I feel like nothing can stop me. I'm full of energy and confidence. Then I have weeks on end where I won't answer my phone or respond to a text message." Explaining that he had been diagnosed with manic depression, Jelly Roll said that he'd chosen to reveal this in the hope that others going through similar experiences might know that they're not alone. He continued, "I've always been afraid to make this post because frankly I'm slightly embarrassed, and sadly we live in a world where when people bring up mental health issues, we are immediately judged one way or the other. I also felt like those that listen to the music know how deep my sadness runs in my soul and my struggles." When Jelly Roll opened up about his issues with mental illness, he also revealed that those issues had impacted his weight throughout his life. In his Instagram post, he wrote, "This also explains the constant weight gain, and occasionally I crash diet and lose a lot of weight just to regain it again." He shared more details about the relationship between his weight and his mental health in a 2018 Instagram post, in which he revealed that during a visit to the doctor in 2015, he had maxed out the scales at 500 pounds. "It was one of the most embarrassing days of my life, and the bottom line was I had done it to myself. I continued to spiral out of control and dealt with the news with more food, more drugs, and more liquor." By 2016, he had managed his eating and drinking, and soon shed 200 pounds. Over time, however, his bad habits resurfaced. He wrote, "I've been obese since I was a small child. I want to live a normal life and have a normal relationship with food." There's one simple reason why Jelly Roll's music connects with so many listeners. He's lived what he sings about. That's particularly true when it comes to songs such as She, which details a woman's struggles with substance abuse. He has since revealed that it was based on his own mother. In an interview with Taste of Country, he recalled, "I've had so much addiction around me, and so many people around me lose their lives or lose their families or lose somebody they loved over an addiction." He drew from those experiences when he appeared before the U.S. Senate's Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee in January 2024.
I stand here as a regular member of society. I am a stupid songwriter, y'all, but I have firsthand witnessed this in a way most people have not.
While speaking before the senators in attendance, Jelly Roll used his platform as a celebrity to shine the spotlight on the fentanyl epidemic in the hopes that the politicians would pass an anti-fentanyl legislation, stating that he attended, quote, "more funerals than I care to share." He also acknowledged his own role as a former drug dealer who had once contributed to the very crisis he was now trying to combat.
I brought my community down. I hurt people. I was the uneducated man in the kitchen playing chemist with drugs I knew absolutely nothing about.
Having seen firsthand the devastating impact that addiction has had on so many people close to him, Jelly Roll has transcended his own origin story, changing the narrative so that he has not only survived but thrived. And while he has come to realize how lucky he is to be in that position, he has also experienced no small degree of survivor's guilt over it. He told The Guardian that many of the people with whom he was once close now reach out to him for financial assistance. He said, "I have a phone full of the sob stories, guys I knew from the past, and they want $2,000, $5,000, a car, a house. So you read them, and it just hurts." Clearly, he's not able to help out everyone who comes to him hat in hand, which only works to exacerbate the survivor's guilt he's already experiencing. He explained, "The guilt you feel creates a spiral of shame, but it also hurts to separate yourself from these people." Meanwhile, the success Jelly Roll has experienced has led him to question his own self-worth and whether he's deserving of the good fortune that he's now enjoying. If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction or mental health issues, visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357.